Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday to you. It is Monday, April 13th, 2026. I hope you are doing well today. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and this is Project Joy Live. It's your triple shot of good vibes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this 9 a.m. Eastern Time hour. It's a new week, everybody, and we are officially this week halfway through the month of April already. Cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. And let me know how your weekend was, where you're joining from, what is bringing you joy today, all that fun stuff. Um, what is bringing me joy today? I had a good weekend overall. In fact, the interesting part of the weekend was that I forced myself not to work at certain points. And it's hard because I love what I do. I love producing the shows. I love creating virtual spaces. I love teaching. I get to teach every Saturday now during the Ripley Dive, which is Ripley, as you guys have heard, is an amazing up and coming platform. And it has been such a wild ride to be, and not only an early adopter of the platform and a beta user, but also to get to be hired by Ripley to host the Ripley show, to teach how to build virtual spaces during the Ripley Dive. And it has been so much fun getting to meet new people, but also to get to teach and really. Dare I say, it really truly enjoy the things that I'm doing every day. And so it's been a lot of fun. And I over the weekend I had to I had to force myself to just stop for a minute because I have so many ideas and I get so excited about them. And then like I don't do the things that I need to do to take care of myself. And so I just said I'm going to turn my brain off. And as I was talking about this yesterday, Trista Polo hosts a meetup every other Sunday at 1:30 Eastern Time, based loosely on the Artist Way book. And we've talked a lot about like writing morning pages and some of the activities that the book talks about. But yesterday, I was talking about how the idea of the artist way is recovering your creativity, recovering a sense of being creative. And I don't have that problem. In fact, I have the opposite problem where I'm wanting to create all the time. My brain just doesn't shut off. It's all the time. And I love it and I'm good at it. And I think loving something and being good at something also is not helpful to get your brain to slow down a little bit. And so I really I said I'm just not going to create something and I'm just going to sit and be. I read something, I played a game, I played a couple different games, and it was so outside of what I normally do to with being so creative all the time, always creating something. And so it was interesting. It was an interesting little experiment, but I did like really get to tap into listening to my body, doing some of the things that I've put off doing for some time. And it's funny to see how you can have something that like I said, you love to do and you're really good at, and it can become a source of ignoring some of the other things that maybe you're not that great at or you don't really want to do. And so as I got quiet, it was like, oh, let me go look at these things. And it was good. And so brought me a lot of joy to have a moment this weekend where I just didn't. Raise your hand if you want to have moments every now and then where you just don't. And what I mean by that is just nothing. Don't plan it, don't do it, just be for a moment. Does the silence, does the stillness make you uncomfortable? It's an interesting thing to sit with. Cuz it did me for a minute and then I was like, "Ooh, this is actually kind of nice." Maybe I don't need to do 900 billion things all the time. And so, anyway, coming up later on the show today, we have a very special guest today that a lot of you guys know from our virtual community, and you've also seen her on the show before. Kat Stomska is here today, and we're going to talk about the power of poetry, words that move us, and you guys should definitely be signing up for her next poetry reading, which is coming up not this week, but next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, the 21st, and it's always amazing. So, Kat will be here shortly. Let me head over to the chat this morning. Miss Sang D is in that VIP seat. Happy Monday. Here is to a new and fabulous week. Thank you for listen. I love some purple. If you can't tell by all of my shows, all of my show logos, all of my virtual spaces, every single thing I have includes what I call breakthrough purple. And if you want to know the exact number, it's 490E60 hex number 490E60. What it is. Teresa's here this morning. That tells you how much I use it, you guys, that I know the number, the hex number by heart. Good to see you this morning, Teresa. Being here, says, brings me joy. It does me as well. It does me as well. There's a lot of things that have been going on behind the scenes, you guys. If you have been following some of our saga, if you will, about the political climate here in the state of Connecticut, you know that it's just been a fun time. It's been a fun time. Make sure you are paying attention to the Connecticut General Assembly. It's cga.ct.gov. cga.ct.gov, and pay attention to the schedule because they could be bringing those fabulous bills up that we've been watching at any point. So pay attention, guys. Pay attention if you are in the state of Connecticut to those things that are going on in your local legislature. All right, guys, all of that being said, we're going to take a super quick commercial break. And when we come back through the magic, Kat will be here and we're going to talk all about poetry. We'll be right back after this.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back to Project Joy Live, and please get your poetry snaps ready to welcome back Kat Stomska to the show.
Hello, Jessica. Hello,
Good
everyone.
morning. Well, it's okay. Let's see if we got the time. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. It's afternoon for you now, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Yes, it is 10. It is 10 past 2 in the afternoon, which is perfect.
Okay. Let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Okay, so we're back to 5 hours apart. We have those 3 glorious weeks where we don't know what time it is anywhere because we have different periods of times where we change our time zones. It gets nice and confusing.
Yeah. And they call it daylight savings. I'm not so sure about this one.
I agree.
No.
I agree. I don't know. We're certainly not saving our sanity with all of this. Is what we're not
No,
saving. We're not saving our sanity.
no,
What is
no,
bringing
because
you joy?
we need to always think.
Yes. What is bringing you joy this morning, Kat?
Being here, that's for sure.
Hey.
I always love to be with you, and this show has a special place in my heart for various reasons. Writing, especially when I can write something for an occasion or an important event.
Mm.
Um, what else? And the fact that I've got time of work because I'm lucky to be working in a school, and Scotland having, Easter break nearly 2 weeks. I have until next Monday to just do nothing. Which kindly, and actually fits in the beginning of your show today.
Yes. Is it ever uncomfortable for you to sit in the nothing? Do you ever have a moment where you're like, I should be doing something, right? Does it ever eat at you to sit in like nothingness?
Yeah, usually at the beginning of any school holidays, because school holidays here are quite can be quite long. Like for
Mm.
Easter break, they kids here have 2 weeks, and then it's like six weeks of summer holidays. And so yeah, usually at the beginning, especially that between the end of Easter break, which is next week, so that's what 20th of April, to summer holidays, it's not even 2 months, 2 months of school. So it
Mm.
feels like I haven't worked long enough to have, to be just doing nothing and not going, and not going to work. So yeah, it's always, and it's been like that for as long as I can remember. And then, like the first week of summer holidays is like, I really should be doing something,
Yeah,
like
right.
like I should be earning the break, so to
Yes.
speak. And then it's like, okay, fine. I think I'm used to, just enjoying the time, of choosing what I want to do,
Mm.
and how I want to spend my time.
Yeah. It's interesting because we were having a conversation this weekend about how like sometimes we grow up in that mindset that we have to earn any time off that we take. Like we can't just take time off, that there's like, we have to work. I mean, just think about, because I don't know how it is over there, but here you have to work at a job for so long before you earn paid time off. Like you have to be there for like, here it's usually about a year that you have to work at a place that you're working at before you can get paid time off or sick time or anything like that at all. And so there's that part of it. And then, and think all the way back to when we were in school, until you get through your school year and all your lessons, you don't get your break until your lessons are done, like your summer break. And so we kind of grow up in this mindset that we have to earn taking time for ourselves or taking a break, which is
Mhm.
interesting.
Here, for example, if you are a mom, flexible working hours usually happen if you work somewhere continuously 26 weeks and above. Then you can request flexible working hours. They just recently changed sick pay, so you
Mm.
used to need to be working at least 4 or 5 months in a company before you had paid sick pay. But rules recently changed, and now you can get actually a paid sick pay from day one, from day one of your job,
Wow.
regardless if you are self-employed, or actually employed, which is,
Yeah.
because people have been fighting for it here. But no, like in other this job I'm currently doing, it's not my first job. And I used to be employed in a call center and other places, and yes, I had to be there at least 3 months for like for like to have 2.5 paid days. So it works out like you get one paid day a month basically. uh,
Mm.
Unless it's bank holiday, because bank holidays, certain companies have been, you know, need to respect public holidays. But I'll give you an example, very latest example. The government here because Scotland got into the World Cup, the government here approved a bank holiday for 15th of June, because it is like the match is on a Sunday, so they made the Monday a public holiday. However, no school that I know of, or no local authority that I know of, is actually accepting it as a bank holiday. So
Interesting.
are still expected to be in school. Where if you consider, I don't know exactly what time the match would be, but with it being 5 hours, with UK being 5 hours ahead, I expect it to be like, I don't know, 2 a.m., maybe midnight. So yeah, it would be interesting. It would be interesting how, because it is a discretion of a local authority where,
Yeah.
whether they accept it or not.
Right.
So, and the vast majority haven't.
It would be interesting. I think I met somebody the other week speaking of the time change, she was just like, I'm not participating in it. And she was just like, I'm not doing it. I realize that that's going to make me different than everybody else most of the people in the country and in my state and locally, but I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm like, we should just anything that they want to do, we should just be like, I'm not doing it. That would bring me a lot of joy in the moment. We are going to talk about poetry today, which I know is a favorite topic of yours. And you have written several poetry books now, and hundreds, and I mean, probably thousands of poems. Have you ever tracked how many poems you've written?
I've been tracking them on TikTok, and so far on TikTok, I posted, since I started my poetry page, which is almost 4 years, or maybe just over 4 years ago, I posted nearly 580 poems. So
Wow.
just on
Wow.
TikTok.
And there's got to be way more than that in addition to what you have,
Yeah,
because
because
there's
I have my first book had 84 poems. My second book has 126, and then my third one, my latest one, had 250.
Yeah.
250.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Roundabout.
What
So yeah.
is it? Because we know there are a lot of different mediums and ways to be creative and to express ourselves. What is it about poetry that sparks the flame in you?
I think it's just the fact that I've always found the one way to be able to express my feelings without, especially at the time when I wasn't able to actually name the feeling or the emotion I was feeling. And I realized, especially with the negative emotions like anger, that there is so much more to it than just the name. And we can see anger in so many other ways.
Mm.
um, and it's so much broader. It's so much broader as well, and that's not just for anger, that's also for joy, excitement, grief, all the emotions that maybe we find also difficult to talk about. And I've always found ways to just write it down. I don't know
Mm.
if it was because I've always liked to have like a journal with me to just scribble, and sometimes I would just scribble a few words. And then there are some, I've looked through some of my old journals, and there was like times when I've just wrote one sentence or maybe a quote. And like you spoke about morning pages, that's one of the things contradictory to me being a poet. That's one of the things that I struggle. However, I have other ways, like I write letters. I write daily, or if not daily, because it depends on the month. Sometimes I write letters every day to either an emotion or something that I want to talk about. So I've for example wrote a poem that was a letter to anxiety.
Mm.
And so yeah, I've always found, I think also because in school I used to be told that I'm very bad at drawing. Unfortunately, my teachers weren't very, very kind in that way, and I've always wanted to draw. And like there are certain types of drawing that I can do. Am I a professional? No. Did I ever want to be a professional artist? No. Uh, but I've realized that poetry in itself is a form of art. So in that context, yeah, some people say I should be calling myself an artist.
Yes. Well,
So
it's interesting because and I've never said this to you before, so I'm going to say it live on the show today. And that's that I have always been, and I was sharing this before, a very creative person. I love all different forms of art, from, you know, physical art to music to writing to, I just love creativity in general. And but because I love it so much and I have such a deep respect for a lot of different mediums, I take it very seriously. And I take it so seriously to the point that sometimes I forget to just have fun with it. And so one of the things that I really appreciate about you, and I think of you often when I'm creating, because you remind me to have fun with it. You have written a lot of serious poems in your lifetime, but you also have poems that make me laugh until I cry. And so you remind me that not everything has to be serious. And the other day I wanted to, or the other day, a few weeks ago, I wanted to create something, and I just needed to have fun with it. Something that wasn't serious, something that wasn't like, oh, it's got to be a certain way for it to be done. And that's when I wrote my Glowworm 2.0 poem. And it just was so fun. And the poodle poem that I
yeah,
wrote from
yeah.
your class, you remind me to that I can we can love and be serious about something and still have fun at the same time.
Mhm. Thank you. That I really take it as a compliment. And I think what definitely helps me to be reminded myself to have fun with writing in general or art in general is the fact that I work in school. The age
Mm,
range I work in is from 5 to 18 years old. So I have, and anytime I do um, poetry workshops or like teach poetry, within the schools I work with, uh, I get reminded myself how
mm,
creative children are and how boundless and limitless their imagination is if you really let them. And I don't think sometimes the teachers are actually ready for what they hear, because I always tell them that some poems will be very serious, and some poems will be absolutely would be absolutely cracking everybody up. And that's often the case. And with the funny poems, that all started because I have an idea of making a poetry book with the ideas that children gave me. And that is happening sometime this year, sometime later this year. So yeah, so that in itself started, because I often get asked by children, if I can give them some ideas, and so it kind of bounces off,
yeah,
I guess. But
yeah.
yeah, that's why I also like poetry, because despite the fact that some poetry types have rules, it's the biggest rule breaker in literature.
Mm, very
Because you can make
true.
your own rules. You can make your own rules, and you can make the words up, which is the best thing in its entirety. The fact that you can make up your own words, and
I
nobody
rem-
can tell you, you know that this word doesn't exist, because you can create your own world. you know
Right. Well, you know what, I remember growing up and reading Shel Silverstein books, with all of he is such quirky, outside of the box poetry, and I remember reading like words that don't even make a difference, or they're not like they're not any real words. And then even who else, like Dr. Seuss books, and him in these worlds that he would create with the rhyming stories and all of that. And it does kind of give you permission to step outside the box a little bit and get out of this space of, things have to be done a certain way. Obviously, you've studied poetry as well. And so there are those different types of poems that have rules, like a haiku is a certain amount of lines and syllables. And then maybe a limerick is written a certain way. Or how do you like follow the structure, but then also give yourself permission to play with it?
I think it all starts with trial and error. So I would sometimes start, so I will always have the rules written somewhere on a piece of paper or on the screen if I'm working on a laptop. But then I start with either with just single words or maybe a single line. So if I'm writing a limerick, limericks are supposed to be funny. So I think about maybe something fun that happened to me, or maybe something I've noticed, an animal doing, like even observing nature. That's why I find it so important to actually be able to see what happens around you. And certainly writing poetry has made me more aware of what happens around me, because sometimes it could be a pigeon walking funny, or like I don't know, a crow standing next to a milkshake, or I don't know, raccoon coming out of somewhere. And I try to just write it. The first draft is always I just write, and then I look at it and think, okay, so I tick the rules as I go until I'm happy that all the rules are followed. If the poem has rules, like limerick, and I always remember, like, so let's say if there is a certain rhyme, I would think about words. So if there is a word like, I don't know, sleep, then I could maybe think about weeping, or sweeping the floor, or swiping, and see if I can come up with something that would connect to the story, but not necessarily be very serious. And here is where coming up with words, your own words, often helps, because you can whether that be a certain pronunciation or certain way of spelling it, you can always use that. Is where, so I'm still able to break rules while kind of sticking to the most important rules. So
I love it. Well, I would love to hear a poem if you have some with you.
yeah, I
Um,
do have one, especially that we were talking about words that move us. And
mm,
I guess with poetry, regardless whether it's funny poem or a more serious one, you would definitely find something that sticks with you. So
mm,
I've got um, one poem that I wrote yesterday while I was testing, while I was a happy tester of a poetry marathon that will be happening later in the year. And this one is about, you spoke about earlier in the show about finding your creativity, or like doing something to reconnect with certain things. That's one of the things that poetry allowed me to do. Is definitely helpful with me finding whether what the current version of me is really the one I want to keep, or maybe there is something, I can let go of. So this poem is called I Keep Looking, and it's about figuring out your identity and trying to work out how far you've come, really, by not necessarily noticing it, or like having really visible and tangible signs of growth.
mm,
So it goes like this. I keep looking for the person I was told I could become, as if they wandered off in a crowded station, and I'm still holding their ticket, waiting for an announcement that never comes. Some days I stand in front of the mirror, searching for evidence of progress, tilting my head towards the light, wondering why growth is so quiet when it happens. But the truth arrives in softer ways, in the breath I take instead of a harsh word, in the moment I rest instead of punishing myself, in the small courage of trying again, while I'm still afraid. Your best self is not hiding from you, is not locked behind perfection or distant milestones. Your best self is already walking beside you, patient, steady, whispering, "You are becoming." The end.
That love that. Oh my gosh. Yes, that is good and timely. Very timely. It's interesting with poetry how certain times, the poem might you might hear it and go, that's nice. And then other times you read it again and you're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed. I feel this 100% today. Do you find that with your own poems that like you'll go back to ones that you've written and really feel it more days than others?
Yeah, certainly. There are some poems, especially in my very first poetry book, where I go sometimes, I open it on a random page and suddenly I realize not only how much has changed since the time I've written this poem, but also how much how different I actually uh, take that poem, and the message from it. So certainly I can see that's one of the ways I can see the progress I've made. And I've definitely noticed that with my first two books, they were definitely more focused on healing and expressing certain emotions that maybe I was hiding or I had buried deep inside me. And then with my third poetry book having poems inspired by songs, I've got about 100 of those. I actually started the that particular chapter with saying that I want people, whoever has that book, to open that chapter on a random page and to know that whatever poem they have come across, that is what they need to hear at that specific moment in time. And I've also given a list of songs and artists I've used an inspiration, because thankfully, one thing good about public domains is that you can't really copyright the song title,
Mm.
so, and that's what I used as basis of acrostic poems. And I continued this thing. This was actually what has helped me take off my poetry page on TikTok, is the fact that I started doing poems based on songs, and some songs are more popular, and I try to also give platform to like smaller artists and indie artists that maybe somebody would never otherwise hear, and also some more popular artists. Like I've done Taylor Swift, I've done Brian Adams, I've done The Script. I've done
Yes.
quite a few.
I have a challenge for you
Mhm.
because that poem that you just wrote, you used a word in there, becoming.
Uh-huh.
And fun fact, our friend Kevin Kiley here on the network has brand new music coming out next week, and the song is called Becoming.
Oh,
And I think that we should definitely plan on writing a poem that goes with the song. Kevin needs a poem to go with it because I got to hear it. I can't spill for you guys. I can't spill the tea yet here. I heard it. I got to make some assets for Kevin's release, but I can give you guys. Let me see if I can get it over here on and I can share it really quickly. But he posted a little preview. Let me share. Okay, you guys can see this. Let me unmute. Okay, so that's all you get is the little intro. That's it. You get the little intro to the song. But it is so good, and it takes me back to when he did Climbing, which was our theme song for the entire Project Joy Live season last year. And he's written a lot very similar to what you were talking about, how you kind of see this pattern in the things that you're creating. And he wrote a lot about heartbreak and breakups, and he wrote Ghosted, which was a whole jam about when you're ghosted by somebody. Wrote all of these things about going through things, and this song Becoming is so good because it's just like that. You finally realize you're emerging from the hard times, and really you can recognize the healing. Doesn't mean you're done yet, but you can
Mhm.
recognize it and see yourself becoming something amazing, beautiful, and wonderful. And all of the imagery that I created for him for his lyric video that is coming out is all flowers. It's all like blooming flowers,
Mhm.
and you might catch a glimpse of a butterfly here or there, but it is so good, and I think there needs to be a cat poem to go with it.
Mhm. I think I'm gonna accept the challenge.
Yes.
I'm gonna accept the challenge, especially that I do know Kevin's music because I
Mm,
have been, there is more than a few songs I have listened to. So
yes. Yes, we love it. It'll be great. It'll be great. Do you have another poem you can share with us today?
yes, and this one would be I have written this poem last year during the poetry marathon I mentioned, which was 24 hours writing, doing absolutely nothing other than writing poems. One poem an hour with 500 odd other poems in the world, which was absolutely amazing. And no caffeine was consumed, which
No,
is very
no
which is
caffeine.
very important, I think, because how else would you survive, you know 24 hours without caffeine?
Yes.
I think it was the adrenaline and the excitement of everybody sharing poems, because if you think about, at least half of us wrote for 24 hours, the other half was writing 12 hours. Those of us who did 24 hours, that's 24 hours, 24 poems each, times that was a lot of poems.
Yeah.
And yes, they were absolutely different, from very funny ones, like alphabet poem, which started which stopped, so that it can be a haiku. So it had maybe two
Yeah.
letters, and then a
Yeah.
question if you can call it a haiku. It was really funny. So this one is the wisdom of House of Cards, because that would be the theme of my next poetry book, where I decided I'm going to concentrate on the everyday things, or the material things we have, or the things that normally don't speak on, or don't have a voice, and how, if they could talk to us, what would they say?
Mm,
What wisdom can we gather from them? So
yeah.
here it goes. The top card whispered, I want it to be more than a balance. The base replied, we held each other as long as we could. Then the table sighed and everything let go in a breath. One card turned mid-fall. Will they remember we stood at all? Another, fading, said, we were never just a game. The end.
Mm. Oh, I love that. It's so, oh my gosh, so much imagery just in that. And I kind of in a moment, in the original Alice in Wonderland cartoon where the cards
Mhm.
had faces and were like talking to each other. I saw that for a minute, but then at the end it was interesting because I only envisioned the cards in my head, but not really faces. They were just sort of whispering to each other, which was interesting how that shifted in my mind. But beautiful imagery as always. One of the things that I want to mention really quickly is that a lot of people I hear from people all the time, actually, about how they can't be creative in one way or another. And I know a lot of people haven't played around with poetry because they feel like they're not a good writer. Do you feel like people have to be a good writer or good with words in order to write poetry?
No, I will I will do my best, and my mission is actually to convince people and advocate for people to understand that despite the fact that some poetry has rules, there is really only a tiny fraction of poetry types that actually have rules. And one line, a simple line, can be classed as a poem. It all depends on how you feel. Not every single poem has to rhyme. That was my misconception, despite the fact that I've been writing for 30 odd years. um, this was my misconception. I had to kind of get around myself and realize that no, you've got free verse, and you can do a prose poetry as well, which is a very fine line between you telling a simple story and actually becoming a poem. So, no, everybody can. I believe that every single one of us is a poet in some way. It's just not everybody gets a chance to actually try it and work out, and not everybody has the chance to be creative in that particular way, because I've always wondered why there is so little space in every curriculum around the world for poetry for kids to explore, where this is the one tool for me, and it always has been, that can really ignite your imagination. So that's one of the things I will be, I would love to change if I could, through my poetry, to make people understand, those people who design, the rules for teachers to follow, to realize how important poetry is, and how much more you can gain from letting children just, to just write, and not worry about the rhyme, not worry about, rhyming. Although it's a really great tool to actually learn how to rhyme,
Yeah.
because it's a lot easier for some children to see the patterns of rhyming, if that is a, if that is a rule as well. So no, I believe we all are good with words. We just have we just need to sometimes work a little harder, or look in other places to actually find the opportunities
Mhm.
um, to to try it. So I
Okay.
definitely encourage everybody to try it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely that's your challenge. Next time between now and Tuesday, April 21st, when Kat's next poetry reading is, you have a little over a week, you guys, to try to write something and come share it with us at the poetry reading. That's your assignment. I'm going to share another poem that we love so much here on Project Joy Live, and that is the For Love poem by Dorothy Auger. And while we are listening to Dorothy read that poem, head over to the comments, click the link, and register for Kat's poetry reading coming up on April 21st. And we'll be right back after this.
I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart. I shall stand for love, for the world is wounded, not just my little piece of land, where I am mostly safe, where I am mostly well, but our world, everywhere, every day. I shall stand for love, because we need more light, not more death, not more power, not more bombs. I shall stand for love, so that our children are safe, so that our friends are sheltered, so that our borders are open. I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart.
Welcome back to Project Joy Live. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. We're here with Kat Stomska, and we have been talking all about poetry on Project Joy Live today. Okay, so we have to do birthdays, but I was thinking, after, I don't know if you brought one, but after we do birthdays, I thought we could both end with a funny poem for people
I
today.
could read, I certainly could read it
Okay.
from, from my laptop, because I do have
Yes.
a few.
Okay.
Or actually, I can. Right, since I'm on the laptop, I can actually read one from my phone.
Okay, so
So,
we're gonna end with funny poems today. So don't go anywhere after birthdays. I will bless you all with my glowworm poem, and Kat will read a poem to finish us off for today that will give you some humor to go through the week. Because the truth is, and we talk about this on Project Joy Live all the time, we're not always guaranteed perfection on a silver platter any given day, and we have to. I'm convinced that we have to learn to have a little fun, relax, and laugh at ourselves, okay? Because sometimes that's all we can do. It's all we can do. But first, we're gonna do birthdays. You ready, Kat?
yes, I'm
Here we
ready.
go.
Happy birthday to you.
All right, everybody. In the world of celebrity today, President Thomas Jefferson, who passed away in 1826, had a birthday today. Amazing actor from back in the day. You guys might remember him. He got his way into popularity on the Never Ending Story. Jonathan Brandis, who passed away in 2003, had a birthday today as well. Rapper Ty Dolla $ign is 44 years old today. Actress Caroline Rhea is 62 years old today. One of the most amazing singers who I'm sure is responsible single handedly for the birth of many children in this world. Al Green is 80 years old today. get a little groove with some Al Green on a date night. Actor William Sadler, 76 years old today. You might remember him from The Shawshank Redemption, among many
Yes.
other films.
It's-
Kelly Giddish, from Law and Order SVU, among other things, 46 years old today. And the celebrities in my life, Trip Bodenheimer and Amanda Beebe Fournier, also have birthdays today. Is there anybody you're celebrating today, Kat?
no,
Oh,
no.
celebrate.
My nearest birthday would be 4th of June for me.
Okay. All right. And that's coming. It's coming fast, okay?
Yes, yes.
Guys, it's
Yeah, it
coming.
will be in a blink of an eye. Yeah, I get that.
It is true. It is true. All right, guys, let's get our birthday song on. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Thomas Jefferson, Jonathan Brandis, Ty Dolla $ign, Caroline Rhea, Al Green, William Sadler, Kelly Giddish, Trip Bodenheimer, and Amanda Beebe Forney. Hey, happy birthday to you. Here we go. Happy birthday to all those that are celebrating today. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. And Kat and I are going to gift you for your birthday with some funny poems. And everybody else, this is for you, for those moments during the week where you're just like, I can't do it anymore. You're going to come back to this episode and hear a couple fun poems. I'm going to give you my glowworm poem, and then we'll have Kat finish us off for today. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I agree.
This poem is called Glowworm 2.0, and it's based on a very short poem that you'll hear at the very beginning of the poem, and I decided it needed a little more oomph. So, I wish I were a glowworm. A glowworm's never glum, 'cause how can you be grumpy when the sun shines out your bum? And if the day is windy and I'm blowing in the breeze, or someone goes to hug me and gives too much a squeeze, and if I'm feeling tired, not a wink of sleep, and even if my list is long to work and shop and sweep, and if I'm really hungry and my stomach gives a growl, and I am extra sleepy because the nightmares prowl, and if the room's already bright, I'll shine it anyway, even if it blends in the sunlight of the day, because I'd be a glowworm. It's natural I will shine, and I'll always have a giggle that the lights from my behind. Thank you.
This one will always make me laugh. Always, regardless how many times I hear it. So thank you, Jessica.
All right. All right. Kat's going to finish us off, everybody.
Now I'm gonna read a poem that about a certain mercat that had some adventures in Georgia. Okay, so here it goes. At 1:69 a.m. in Georgia, under a sky of teal, a meerkat hailed a taxi and said, "Tonight I really need wheels." He hopped on roller skates, all sparkly and loud, sipped fizzy boba tea and burped proudly to the crowd. He zoomed past Peaches, shouting, "Wee, what a skatey spree!" The taxi chased him backwards, yelling, "Sir, you paid for me." The meerkat just giggled, spun twice with glee, then tipped with bubble, bubble tea and bowed dramatically. Okay, there is one more page. He declared himself mayor of Midnight Snacktown, wore a teacup as a hat and a disco ball crown. The taxi joined dancing, doing the cha-cha with grace, while the meerkat moonwalked, then fell on his face. The crowd burst out laughing, tossing popcorn in the air. Someone clapped with a flamingo. Someone juggled a pear. The taxi sighed kindly. "Hop in, star of the show." "No, thanks," said the meerkat, and he rolled home, skating very slow. The end.
Very good. Very good. I love it. So you've got a glowworm and a meerkat. And that's your giggle for the week. Thanks for being here today, Kat. It's always
Thank
a
you very
pleasure
much,
to
Jessica, for
chat
having me. It's
poetry
always a
with you.
pleasure. It's always a pleasure. And I hope, a lot of people will have a chance to try poetry.
Yes, absolutely. So you can join us. I had put in the chat the link to the next poetry reading with Kat. As I said, it's coming up on Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. And that happens at 6 p.m. Eastern time, everybody. So definitely check that out and come and join us for the poetry reading. In addition, Kat always posts the most incredible poetry over on her TikTok. So go follow her over on TikTok as well. And listen to her amazing poetry, which is always incredible. And what else do we have to share today? Anything you want to leave with the people today, Kat?
I just want people to have fun, and remember that we all are artists in some way, and maybe channel, have a go at channeling the inner artist, in, you know, in you.
Absolutely. I will agree. And I know that you mentioned doing the poetry marathon. When is that happening this year, Kat?
This year will be the weekend. I think it's the 13th to the 15th of June. It's that weekend in
Okay.
June. It's that weekend in June. But I will share the details through you once the registration opens. The registration should open sometime in May. So,
Very nice. All
and
right. So
it's free to attend as well. You don't need to. You just need to give your time if you wish to participate.
awesome. 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 So as soon as we have details about that, we will certainly share it with you here on Project Joy Live. Thank you, Kat, for being with us today.
Thank you
As
very
always,
much,
always
Jessica.
good to
Thank you
have you.
everyone for coming.
All right, everybody, wherever you are in the world, I thank you so much for being here today. We love you so much. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. This is Kat Stomska, and we want to remind you to make joy a priority in your life today and every day. And we'll see you next time on Project Joy Live.
Bye bye.